Hello, Miami alumni and friends. JJ Slager here with the Alumni Association. Happy Wednesday. I'm so glad to be joined again by our friend Carl Landau, class of 79. Welcome, Carl.
I'm very excited. This is a big thrill for me. Although, JJ, I'm a little upset. Normally, Wednesday this time, I'm playing pickleball, but
Oh,
my
no.
my dedication to Miami, there's no limit.
Well, we really appreciate you skipping your game for this. And yeah, this is Pickleball for Dummies, as all of you know. And we're happy to have Carl back. He also joined us last year if you want to rewatch his episode on his podcast. But anyway, what's new with you, Carl?
I've had a really enjoyable summer. I've been playing pickleball 3 or 4 times a week, which is perfect for me. And we did one major trip. We went whitewater rafting, which was really fun in the Rogue River in Oregon. And I'd recommend that to anyone, especially for families. It's great. And we didn't rough it too. Like I'm not the roughing type, and it's like lodge to lodge, 3 4 days, and you stay at these really nice
Oh,
places. So
wow.
it's really fun.
Like you raft from one lodge to the next?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they serve you lunch, and then
Oh,
you
wow.
yeah, and then yeah, the whole day you raft. But it's you don't have to really know anything other than how to get in a boat, and you do as much work as you want.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And glad you're getting a lot of pickleball in. I guess I wondered how you ended up becoming the co-author of Pickleball for Dummies.
Well, before that, I heard a rumor that you are playing pickball now. Is that
Oh,
true?
yeah. The news has made it to California.
Hmm.
Yeah, when we first talked, Carl, I hadn't played when we set this up even just a month or two ago. And since then, the whole family's gotten into it. So I have 4 kids and my wife, and all 6 of us are now playing pickleball somewhat regularly. And
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's such a great sport for everybody of all
Yeah.
ages that's interested in playing, high schoolers, middle schoolers, college kids, and me. So
Yeah, it really is. Especially those kids that don't want to talk to you. It's like, oh, they can play a game with you.
yeah,
Way
exactly.
better. Way better.
My
Anyways,
teenage daughter's been asking me to play pickleball, and that's a huge win when uh, in any time.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so
it
yeah,
is.
thanks for your help in introducing it to me and helping to introduce it to our awesome Miami audience today. So
Excellent.
we're excited for you to do that. So yeah, how did you end up being the author of this book?
I have to tell you, JJ, it's hilarious. Like I've had, some accomplishments in my life and all that, started some companies and all that. And when I told people I was going to be co-author of Pickleball for Dummies, the Dummies book, which is by Wiley, this huge publisher, this is the most impressive thing, like to most people they've ever heard. Which it wasn't for me, but anyway. So I have a podcast. I used to be somebody, and that's what I talked about last time. It's about unretirement and what do you got to do pretty much for your second act. And when I formed this company, it was my fourth company. I didn't know what to name it. And a friend of mine, just out of wind, they're like, well, you like to play pickball. Why don't you call it Pickleball Media? I'm like, okay. And so I did. And then in the podcast, we have this 5 minute segment. It's called Pickball Life Lessons with Mo. And Mo Nard is our instructor and friend. And I just had her on, and we talk about how we talk about pickball and strategy and stuff like that, but also how pickball reflects life. But basically for 5 minutes, she makes fun of me and like all the things I do wrong in pickleball, and even people that uh, don't play pickleball, they love it, and it became like the most favorite part of the podcast. And the podcast has become pretty popular. And someone from Wiley uh, listened, and they play pickleball. And they looked up that night that there was no pickleball for dummies. And if anyone's ever read the Dummies books, the yellow and black covers, uh, they have a book about everything. I mean, literally like every weird thing. Yeah. And so when they realized that they didn't have a pickball book, uh, they said to me, not only like do you want to do it or whatever, or how much do you want? First question was, how fast can you do it? And so we teamed up. My wife's a writer and I'm a writer, and we teamed up with our instructors, Mo and Rian, and wrote it in like 4.5 months.
Oh, wow.
And it's been a bestseller ever since. So anyway, it's
Yeah.
been a pretty nice thing.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I guess the book's been doing very well.
Yeah, it's the #2 selling book, pickleball book on Amazon, which doesn't sound like much, but there's 28 other pickleball books, and we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead and let you get into the presentation now. Carl has been kind enough to join us to talk about the trajectory of the sport and the history. And a lot of you submitted questions, lots and lots of questions.
A lot.
So thank you for that. A lot of those answers will be built in, and I'm going to ask Carl some questions when we come back at the end. So if you have live comments, questions, you want to share a story about pickleball, you can do that by hitting the ask a question button right below your video. We'll keep an eye on those at the end. And like I said, he's going to address some of your questions as we go through as well. So Carl, I will turn it over to you, and I'll see you for questions shortly.
Sure. Anyway, I'm actually from Cleveland, Shaker Heights, Ohio, and went to Miami University, graduated in 1979. And I'm sure all my professors are really excited about the stuff I've done, which a lot of it's goofy stuff that I don't think I was taught in college, but maybe I was. Anyway, I was a magazine publisher and ran this ad, buy any, I get a cat, that went viral before there was such a thing as viral. And you could get a cat, and all you had to do was dial get a cat. It was 800 number. Anyway, we don't have time for the story on that, but there was a article about that in 200 to 300 newspapers and magazines. This is in the early 80s. I also had a beer magazine, Brew Your Own, and learned painfully after we put this guy on the cover. Apparently, that's not how you standardize beer. So it's just some of the fun marketing things that I've done in the past. And then in the 80s, when I was 26 years old, I launched my first magazine. It was called Computer Language. It was for software developers. And I also actually published a magazine that's pretty much in the media now, AI Expert. It was one of the first artificial intelligence magazines. So I was a little ahead of my time at that point. But we also had a conference trade show, and I sold that to a large publisher. And anyway, this is a big success. So in the 90s, I recognized craft beer was really big, and I started a magazine called Brew Your Own, which are for the, at the time, 2 million people that were making beer at home, but there was no magazine. Also, Winemaker magazine for people that make wine at home. And then Brew Pub was for people that own brew pubs and microbreweries. And we had a big conference, and anyway, sold all that as well to a publisher. And then in 2000, I did this for 20 years. I put on live events, conferences, and trade shows. And they were all for niche publishers. At the beginning, it was magazine publishers. And then at the end, it was mostly digital. And did that for 20 years and sold that in 2019. And then we had the pandemic. I think everyone remembers that. And so in 2020, I didn't really know what to do. So I started a podcast called I Used to Be Somebody. And it's really for people that have had careers and they enjoyed their careers, and now they don't want to retire. They want to do something new, something more fun, something more meaningful. And I love doing the podcast. And like I mentioned in it, we have the short segment called Pickleball Life Lessons with Bo, and that's what led to this whole thing. So we are on actually episode 72, just dropped today. And I interview all sorts of people. Some of them are well known, some are not, but it's become pretty popular. And the people I interview now are pretty big time. Today's interview that came out was with Steve Israel, and he was a congressman for 16 years and had an incredible career out of New York. And then he started a really cool independent bookstore. And so it's about second acts and stuff like that. So that's all about I Used to Be Somebody. Which leads us to Pickleball for Dummies. So I'm co-author, and It is an Amazon bestseller, and it's been a lot of fun. We just went over our 100th review, and we have the ratings on Amazon 4.8 out of 5, which is the highest rating basically you can have. So people like it. It is, believe it or not, 448 pages about pickleball. So it's sort of crazy. So you may ask, what is pickleball? And I know a lot of people here. I mean, we have a combination of people. We have some people that have never heard of pickleball, don't know what it is. We have people that are beginners, and I'm sure we have some advanced people that know more about pickleball than I do. So, as far as deciding what to do, I just want to start at the beginning, then we'll get more advanced. So, it was, believe it or not, created in 1965, way back when. And it's we like to say it's a hybrid of tennis and ping pong. So if tennis and ping pong had a baby, it's pickleball. And by the way, that picture I think is late 60s. It's awesome, and the court actually is, and the game's not that much different. So it uses sort of a wiffle ball and a paddle, and it looks like, it made people describe it as miniature tennis. I've heard a lot of people give that comparison. And you mostly play doubles, so it's a lot less running around, and this is why you don't have to be any great athlete or really have a background in bracket sports to be good. So that is what pickleball is. And we're going to talk about the history of it. So it's very short. In fact, it's one page of our book. And what I say about that is, like, a game called Pickleball, how serious can you take it? So, but it was invented in 1965 by this congressman in Bainbridge Island, Washington, which is a really cool island right off of Seattle. And Congressman Pritchard, and he was with 4 or 5 other families. They were spending a week there, and the kids got bored, as kids do get bored, and they had badminton, and they had wiffle ball and that sort of thing. And these dads just sort of combined the sports, and they took the badminton net and they lowered to the ground, and then they took some rackets and tied them together and rejiggered them somehow to be more like paddles. And they already had a, uh, um, a wiffle ball, and and they invented it, and everyone loved it. And so there's a big name controversy. And so these are the two leading ideas behind where the name came, because this is a long time ago. These guys are dead. So it's really relying on like the grandkids and stuff like that as far as the name. So one of the families had a dog called Pickles. So you figure, well, that makes sense. Okay, that's why it was. But one of the grandkids said Pickles came around 4 or 5 days. Oh, I'm sorry, years after the sport. So the other theory, which I think is correct, is the congressman's wife was a rower, and apparently there's a thing called pickball boats, which are odds and ends. So if you're a rower, I should have asked on my Oregon trip. There's probably a rower out there where somehow they understand what odds and ends are. So that's where the controversy is. So why is pickball the fastest growing sport? Well, it's a low barrier of entry. All you need is a paddle, a pickleball, and court shoes, and you're all set, ready to go. And I think this is probably the number one reason why it is so popular is how many games can you learn in knew nothing about it, and in 30 minutes you can learn the game and actually play a game. And I think that's the beauty of pickleball. In the area you're covering, so keep in mind the pickleball court is really small. It's like a quarter the size of a tennis court. In fact, if you took one tennis court, you could convert it to 4 pickleball courts. So most people play doubles. It's not a lot area to cover, and it's perfect for people that don't know anything about it or aren't great athletes. And as JJ mentioned, it's multi-generational game. So families, friends can play together. Men and women can play together. It's not a strength game. It's a great way to play with your family. And I mentioned men and women can play together. I play mostly with women, and I guess I like women better. I don't know, but anyway, the big thing about it is it's underhand serve. So if you've ever played tennis or you watch it on TV, I mean, those guys are hitting a serve like 100 miles an hour, and pretty much it's all about serving often. And with pickleball, the serve is not that important except to get it in. And that's really the great equalizer. It's not a strength game, it's much more a strategy game. It's very social, active game. So you're playing doubles, and uh, so there's four people on the court. There's usually a lot of talking while you're playing. Some of it has nothing to do with the game. There's people on the sidelines that want to talk. I mean, it's like it's a whole deal where it's a little community there. So it's very social, and you'll meet if you join a club, you'll meet 20 people and make instant friends, really. And last is fun. So we apologize in our book that we actually say the word fun. I think it's like 210 times or some ridiculous amount of time. So it really is fun. So the benefits of playing uh, are physical, mental, and social. And if you think about, if you've studied aging at all, these are really the key elements to have a successful aging process and to live a long, healthy life. So physically, you're moving multi-directional, so a lot of lateral movement, and that's actually really good for your balance and all that. So it is really good for you mentally. And I'm not going to go into great details about scoring because it is a little complicated at the beginning, and I could talk a little bit if there's some questions about it. But and for those people that play, once you're on your fifth or sixth game, it gets a little tricky, and it takes usually all four of you, and sometimes people on the sideline to figure out what the score is. And socially, I think this is a big one as far as like having a healthy older life. Social life is really important to remain. Having friendships, making new friends is really important. So, I mean, it's a real big benefit, and I think the social aspect is a big part of it. Okay. Okay. My number one rule, I've taught hundreds of people how to play, basically, how to score and where to stand and stuff like that. I'm not a professional instructor though. But the very first thing I say to everyone is don't get hurt. I mean, that is the most important thing. And I've seen it particularly the first time someone plays. So a couple of things, proper shoes, eyewear, hat, sunscreen, those are all requirements. Eyewear is really important. If you're ever seriously going to get hurt, it's going to be an eye injury. So just wearing glasses is fine, sunglasses is fine, but you have to wear eyewear. We won't, my friends and I will not play with anyone that doesn't wear eyewear. And also, I've seen people with flip flops and all that. You're going to get hurt doing that. So those are, the fundamentals there. Okay. Go to the next one. Okay, stretching. So stretching is really important. I stretched today, and I'm not even playing pickleball for 20 minutes, but it really has changed my life. Any sport, especially at a certain age, you're going to get hurt, and I learned it's stretching that really does it. And I stretch for 20 minutes before I play. I stretch 20 minutes after I play. And the last thing I always tell people is no hero ball. Um, you know, uh, I remind people because they're really excited. Oh, I haven't done anything athletic for a long time, and they're running, and this is fun. It's like, okay, you are not 18 years old, and this is, uh, it's way better if someone hits a lob over your head And if you think it's going to be like really difficult, you're going to like run into the fence or something. It's okay. Tip your hat and say that's a great thing, you know, and you're fine with that. So okay, so we have a movie here. Okay, so I'd like the substitute teacher, but it's just a 2-minute movie. It goes over all the basic stuff. I think for particularly for people who've never played, this is going to be really helpful.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States, in part because it has a very short learning curve. This is a brief introduction on how to play pickleball. Pickleball is played on a rectangular 44-foot by 20-foot court. The court is divided into 2 sides by a low net. There are 2 sidelines, 2 baselines, a center line on each side, as well as 2 non-volley lines, which create 2 non-volley zones that are affectionately called the kitchen. The center line divides each side into 2 service courts, the left service court and the right service court. Every point begins with a serve. A pickleball serve must be hit underhand from behind the baseline, cross court into the opposing team's service court. The serve must clear the net and not land in the kitchen. An important rule in pickleball is the double bounce rule. The double bounce rule says the ball must bounce once on each side before either team may start volleying the ball in the air. Here is an example of the serve and bounce rule. When Team A serves to Team B, they must let the ball bounce once before returning the serve. Team A must also let the ball bounce once on their side. After the ball is bounced on both sides, either team may volley the ball into the air or let the ball bounce once before striking it. The rally will continue until one of the teams either hits the ball in the net, out of bounds, or lets the ball bounce on their side twice. A unique but important aspect of pickleball is the non-volley zone or kitchen. Players may not hit the ball while standing in the kitchen unless the ball has already bounced on their side. Pickleball is a fun and exciting sport. Hopefully, this video will give you the knowledge you need to play your first game of pickleball. To learn how pickleball scoring works, go to playpickleball.com to view our pickleball scoring video.
Anyway, that was a really good video, just the basic stuff. There are thousands and thousands of videos out there. Some are better than others. You know, obviously we have our book that goes into a lot more detail than any video can. But, you know, if you want to learn how to serve, I mean, we have a whole chapter on that. But then, you know, watch 3 or 4 videos about, you know, serving. And there's a lot out there. Some are better than others, I have to warn you, though. So let's talk about a few things, where to play in beginners clinics. So there's indoor or outdoor play. By the way, that picture I took here, that's a place called Chicken and Pickle. And there's a lot of pickleball venues opening up. And I have not been to one. There's only, I think, 5 or 6. They're out of Kansas, but they're not the only ones. There's 4 or 5 other venues like that, and they're really fun to go to. You can rent for an hour and a half a court or an hour, whatever you want, and you can eat and drink, and people have a great time. City parks, I mean, almost any good-sized city park at this point has pickleball courts that are free to play on. Schools, YMCAs, JCCs, 50-plus communities. If there was a new 50-plus community opening that didn't have pickleball courts, no one would buy anything in there. I'm just telling you, they're in every 50-plus community in private clubs. So, which is great. And I belong to a private club, and which I really enjoy doing it. But I also go and play in all different venues, and which is fun, and playing with different people. So that's where to play. And at each one of those, there's usually a beginners clinic. Like at our club, it's on Saturday. You know, from like 8:30 to 10:30, it's free. Most city parks offer the same sort of thing, in JCCs and YMCAs. So how to find other players. So here's some websites. There's apps. social media. There's a million places, and pretty much you usually put in just the city you're looking at, and it will have a lot of information about the courts available, when drop-ins are. Drop-in is when you go in and you just bring your paddle. You go by yourself often, and you just mix up with whoever's there, which are really fun. I like doing drop-ins. But playtimescheduler.com, Rian Steele, who's our co-author, actually created that several years ago. And she has, I think it's at this point, 230,000 people that use her Playtime Scheduler, which is pretty amazing. And last thing with social media, if if you go on Facebook, and let's say you live in Chicago or you live in a suburb of Chicago, there's probably going to be a Facebook page dedicated to a pickleball court. So it's super easy to find. And traveling with your paddle, that actually, I took that picture in Kauai, in Hawaii. And my wife and I bring our paddle everywhere we go. And it's really fun. And it's a great way to like meet other people that are traveling. And we were able to play pickleball every morning in like this little town in Kauai. I mean, it's amazing. I think that backdrop, JJ, if I'm correct, is pretty much the same view there is now in Oxford. Is that right?
Yeah. Looks about the same out there.
Anyway, it's a great way to meet people, and it just adds to your vacation. So let's talk about etiquette. So it's a really courteous game, and first time people are welcome. And honestly, I've had a lot of people that are literally just walking by the neighborhood, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I actually bring a spare paddle with me, and everyone's like, "Well, I'll just watch." And what I say to them is, "Hey, I have a better idea. Why don't you just go on the other side? I'll hit the ball to you." And within a minute, they're hitting it and realize, "Oh wow, this is like really easy." And I love teaching first timers. That's what keeps our sport healthy. So I mean, on any time someone does a good shot or whatever, I mean, people say, "Oh, nice shot. It's friendly." I mean, with your friends and stuff, you can give them a hard time about certain things and all that, but it's for most people, it's not overly competitive. And be aware of the time. So if you're at a public park, you usually there's a time limit of like a minute or so if people are waiting. I'm sorry, an hour or an hour and a half if people are waiting. And so be aware of that, especially if people are waiting. You want to be nice and give them their chance. And ball on, that's a really big one. So you're probably going to be playing next to people, and the ball's going to come on every 5 minutes from the other court, and your ball is going to be going on their court. So as soon as you see that ball on your court, you yell "ball on," and play immediately stops. Because the one way you can get hurt is if someone doesn't see a ball and you step on the ball, you can have a serious injury. And then the very last thing you do win the game, even if you've lost 11-0, which is called that you were pickled, you go and congratulate the people, tap paddles. And I've seen some people aggressively tap. Don't do that, So anyway, but it's a really friendly game. And as far as watching the pros, it is on TV like crazy now. So I would say 3 years ago there was no TV, on of pickleball, and now it's there's contracts with ESPN, the Tennis Channel, Fox Sports, CBS Sports. It's on all over the place. And then what's really fun is going and watching it live. So there are national championships. There's all sorts of regional championships, and they usually have professionals and amateurs, like in the tournament. And then local tournaments, like every weekend, there's all sorts of stuff. And the last thing I want to say about that, there is Major League Pickleball, and that actually made the press quite a bit. And teams are owned by LeBron James and Kevin Durant. and Drew Brees and Tom Brady. So it's really gone big time. And this was just at our launch party, which was last October, and it was so much fun. I'm in Northern California, and there is a club that has 24 pickleball courts, and so we used that, and we had food and drinks and music, and we had over 250 pickleball players. A lot of people had never played before, and everyone had a great time. We sold a ton of books, so that was a really fun launch party for us. And pickleball is fun. So I'm going to show you a video. I think this will explain everything that there is to know about pickleball. Take it away, JJ.
This summer is gonna be so hardcore. We're doing something that we've never done before. Nah, we're not going to the mountains or the shore. This summer you go find us on the pickleball court. Yeah, let me introduce you to this thing called pickleball, where you use these paddles and an oversized wiffle ball. If you've never played, you think that pickleball's despicable. Once you start playing it, it's highly enjoyable. I just hit the winner. Okay, time for a confessional. I am really good at this. I could be a professional. I'ma bring a tripod. Guess our highlights are phenomenal. I bet we look just like Federer and Rafael Nadal. Yeah, nothing beats pickleball. I'm sick of all the sports where you gotta throw or kick a ball. There are lots of rules and at first they're inexplicable, but there's always someone there who really likes to list them all. In this case, it's my wife. Yeah, she used to be chill, but to her, pickleball's now a really big deal. If you play against us, yeah, you better watch out, because if we win a point, we gonna shout, come on! Pickleball, yeah, we should join a team. Pickleball, 4-inch inseam. Pickleball, she's consistent as hell. Like Michelle Esquivel. Do you want to step to her? Methinks not, cause she's been practicing her backhanded dink shot. It's more mind-blowing than a Rorschach ink blot. I just spent 2 hours finding things that rhyme with dink shot. That is how addicted I have gotten to this game. My productivity is now dangerously lame. But I'm a post a net, then your volley I'll be stuffing like I'm Benjamin Johns or Tyson McGuffin. Pickleball. My shoes even say it. Pickleball. I got the rules laminated. Pickleball. Nah, that's my point, Molly. Pickleball. Your third shot was a volley, yeah. I forgot to mention you should stay out of my kitchen. Yeah, I bet you wishing you would stay out of my kitchen. In this competition, there's this place they call the kitchen. You're out of position if you're standing in the kitchen, yeah. Pickleball life, we out.
Pickleball life, we have played one time. We have played pickleball one time.
For 1 hour and 1 half.
And one, yeah. But we're ready to dedicate our lives to the sport.
Rest of our lives.
I always thought it was for the retired set. No. Watch out.
Yeah. The thing about it is, when I'm actually playing, and we shot this video, I was like, we're going to look amazing.
No.
In this video.
No.
It is not a good
It's not a great spectator sport, but
right.
You know what? That's okay.
Also, for those of you hardcore pickleball fans who didn't like our form or thought
we don't know what we're doing.
We don't know what we're doing. We played it once. We're getting there.
Are you guys into pickleball? Just me. Is it just me?
Right.
Okay,
this is gonna. You know what this is gonna be, honey? This is gonna be a niche video. You know what that means? Like, some people are gonna watch it. A lot of people are gonna be like, these people are insane.
I think you should try it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try it again. I've only tried it once, and then we wrote a song about it. Bye.
Oh, Ben.
Check out our merch. Check out our book. Check out our blog. It's at the whole.
Anyway, that's a Holderness family. Oh my God, they have incredible videos, and that was their first one on pickleball. They have 2 more since then, and they're actually pretty big fans and have merch you can buy and all that sort of stuff. So, I took the questions, and there were like over 100 questions, and I put them all like into basically 4 sets. So we'll start. As far as people really ask, what are the basics? So the key is, it sounds really, ridiculous, but the key is getting it over the net, limited unforced errors. So at the beginning, You get most of your points because the other team makes a mistake. They hit it in the net, they hit it out, and so I always tell people, just get over the ball. Don't try to make a low percent shot and all that sort of stuff, because at the very beginning, it's a team that does the most unforced errors that wins. Okay, this sounds really basic, but watch the ball hit your paddle. It's really funny. I've been playing for 3 years, and just about 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine that I was playing with, he's like, "Do you know why you didn't make that shot?" I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "You weren't watching it hit your paddle." And it's like, you know what? He was 100% right, even though I've been playing for 3 years. So, and then, during that game, and I often in my head, I'm like, watch the ball hit the paddle. It is amazing how much better you are when you do it. Just like baseball, same thing. If you bat it in baseball, you watch it hit the bat.
All right.
Okay, so the first team at the non-volley line kitchen generally wins. And I'm going to go, I don't know if I have a thing on the rules. I think I should just talk about the kitchen, because about half the questions were about the kitchen. So in the video,
mine.
Yeah, exactly. So were you using a fake name, JJ, with all those questions?
Bob was wondering.
Yeah, he has a problem. Okay, so people get, well, firstly, the point is, I would say 80% of the time you win, it's that team that got to the non-volley line or the kitchen line that wins. That's the whole key thing, is working your way up to the front. And that's the team generally that wins. So because when you're up there, you can control everything. I mean, someone can hit a lob and all that, but those lobs are fairly low percent shots and not so easy, and they may hit it out or whatever. So you're in much better position hitting a ball and they're on the baseline than the reverse. So here's the deal about the kitchen. It would be better if they just used the other term, non-volley line, because that square area there, people are afraid to go into it. They're like tiptoeing around it. They're afraid. You could stand in the kitchen all day. It doesn't matter. So if the ball gets hit into the if it bounces in the kitchen, you can go in there. You can do whatever you want. It's hitting it on a fly, on a volley. So that's when you can't stand there. Right, it makes sense. You can't stand right over the net and just like hit it, because that would ruin the whole game. So you have to be behind the line. You can't, if your foot touches that line, it's a violation. And the other thing is, okay, you hit on a fly and they already have the ball and all that, but your momentum takes you into the kitchen. That is a violation. It's that whole thing has to stop, like before you're good with it. So you'll see teammates grabbing. This is legal. You see your teammate, you can grab them by back of shirt and pull them out. That's totally legal and all that. So
I might need to get a teammate that's a good grabber, because that's been my biggest problem. And one thing I've kind of figured out with the momentum thing is I tend to step forward on my hits. Mm-hmm. So I just decided I don't stand at the volley line. I give it about 2 or 3 feet, so I have that room to take a step still. But I know some people, yeah.
But here's a little pro tip though. You really want to be right behind the line. The reason why you want to be the line is the net is protecting you. What I'm trying to do is hit it at someone's feet. People cannot, if you have a shot near someone's feet, very low percent are ever going to hit it back. So you want to stand right behind that net, because if you look on your opponent's side, they can't get to your feet. You're protected by the net. So you're actually way better off doing that than figuring out something else, JJ.
Okay, so I should try not to use too much momentum pulling forward so I can be forward. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, receiving team at the third shot, go up to line as a team. Okay, so You want to go up as a team. You actually want to space yourself about 2 or 3 feet away from each other, um, and so that you're covering, the court better. But you don't want to have too much space between it, because if I see a hole between you, I'm going to hit it. If there's 5 feet between you as you're coming up, I'm going to hit it through that hole. Um, but you want to go up really as a team to get to the line. Uh, but don't ever run up to the line. These courts are small. I mean, you literally can walk fast in 3 or 4 seconds, and you are at the line. The reason why I say don't run up is because I love that, because I'm going to hit it right behind you as you're running up. Or if they can't get to the ball, it's much harder hitting a ball when you're running as opposed to setting in place. So there's absolutely no reason to run up the line, because it doesn't take very long. So this is a thing that happens a lot with beginners and also with tennis players, because tennis players love volleying the ball back from the baseline to baseline. And what they end up doing is just hitting the ball right back to the other person's forehand, and that person hits it right back to your forehand. So that doesn't give you any advantage. You're trying to find a weakness, and often with people, it's their backhand. So don't just get in this volley, 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 volley thing. You're trying to have shots that are going to help you. You're dinking it in front of them. You're lobbing it. You're doing all sorts of things. And the other thing is vary your shots. Like, have different kinds of shots rather than just a straight hard shot. And we'll talk about actually hitting the ball soft and playing a dinking game in a minute. Okay, so you're at the line, and so there's a little thing that says the upside down light. Okay, so a light is red, yellow, green. Okay, flip it up, and what it means is a green light means you're at the line and the ball is above the net. That is when you're offensive, and you can slam it or whatever you want to do. Okay, yellow is when it's right even. The ball is about even with the net. That's caution. Okay, you may not want to do a slamming at that point. You may want to have a shot off to the side or something like that. Red is when it is clearly below. And I've seen many times they're like, "Oh, I'm near the net. This is exciting," and just hit it, and you hit it right into the net. That's a red. That means stop. That means hit a defensive shot, like a little dink over into the other person's kitchen. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind, and you can actually practice that. And as you hit it, you say green, yellow, red, to prove that, in your mind, you sort of got that. And this is something I just learned, the 60-20-20 rule. Mo Nard, my instructor and friend, taught me this. And because we were talking about, obviously, there's all different levels of play. I'm an intermediate kind of player, and but you end up playing with lots of people that aren't as good as you. You play with people that are way better than you, and that's actually a good thing. So the 60-20-20 rule is 60% you want to play with people at your level. It's competitive, it's really fun, and all that sort of stuff. 20% of the time you want to play with people not as good as you. And when you're doing that, this naturally happens, because that's and you don't. It's no fun destroying like a beginner, and there's no thrill in that, and no one likes that. They don't like that anyway. So that's when, oh, you know what? I do this all the time. I'm gonna dink the entire time. I'm not gonna hit one hard driving shot, and so I'm working on this thing that I want to get better at. And it's a really great opportunity to do that. And they're great. They can hit the dink back and all that. 20% you want to play with people better than you. And that's the only way you're ever going to get better, is to play with people better than you. And it's fun. And, you may get your ass kicked or whatever, but you're going to learn some stuff. And just also, I watch all the time on the sidelines really good players and see what they're doing, and I'm like, wow, okay, now I understand what I should be doing. So anyway, that's some basic information there. And by the way, as far as one other basic thing, and you can leave it on that because it's fine. So, what separates a beginner from an intermediate? A beginner is concentrating on everything you're doing on your side of the court, okay? And intermediate is like, oh, there are people on the other side of the court, and I wonder what they're doing. And I wonder, I'm noticing, they really don't have a very good backhand, or they're sort of slow, and I can like dig the ball in front of them. So that's sort of the difference when you're beginner to intermediate is the focus is all on yourself, and then all of a sudden, like intermediate for you're playing more as a team with your teammate, and then you're really noticing what is going on the other side and evaluating what the next shot should be, or even like you'll have strategy of like, oh, I'm going to hit it here, and I know they're going to hit it there, and you're already thinking 4 or 5 shots ahead. So that's sort of the difference between those. Okay. So a lot of people ask about serving. So this is the key thing is you need to get your serve at 85% of the time. So you can have like this great serve, really low serve, and I'm acing people occasionally and all that sort of stuff. And I've seen people like that, and they can get their serve at like 40, 50%. That's terrible. I mean, the worst thing you could do is not get your serve in, because that is automatic, point over and all that. So you want to have something that's reasonably good serve, but you could get it in almost every time. Key thing is hitting it deep. So that the deeper you can hit it, near the baseline, the better. And it makes such a huge difference. I mean, you want to be able to get it in. Once you know you can get it in, then really work on, getting it deep, getting it in the corner, stuff like that. So it makes a huge difference. I was just playing with someone yesterday, and they hadn't played for a long time, and they're just sort of barely getting it in. And it's like on those short serves, you're like, you hit it, and it's 2 steps, and you're at the line.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not what you want the opponent not to get to the line really quick. Vary your shots. And I've seen a lot where people hit exactly the same serve. They're going to hit to my forehand because I'm cheating over, and I know what it is. And you want to vary the shot. He hit to the weak side, often the backhand. I just did this the other day where I just started doing these high lobs deep, and I got like 6 straight serves. And it's like, oh my God, it seems so easy. I'm getting this little lob. It's really high and deep. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what can I do with it? They can't get their body into it and all that. And it did so well that I think I was winning 9-1. So I stopped doing that, because but it can work. And then, or occasionally just hit a really short ball right over the kitchen line, and that works. So the one thing, I don't have a bullet on it, but so legally, you on your serve, you can just hit it out of your hand, or you can drop it. And a lot of people have problems on their serve. And then I'll say, have you ever tried to bounce it? And which is totally legal. You can bounce it and then hit it from there. And for some people, the bouncing it really helps. So
yeah, I've seen that before. People starting out trying to just hit it, and then the bounce is a lot easier to get it level. I know we've had some questions about the legality of serves too, because you say underhand, but there's specific rules to officially make it underhand, right?
Yeah, it can't be above your waist. You can't have like the motion above your waist.
Okay, but your racket can come up after. But
But
where you hit the ball has to be.
You can't hit it side. You can't hit. It's illegal to hit it sideways.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to your serving strategy for a few more here.
Yeah, and the last thing is spins. A lot of people put on all sorts of spins, a top spin, a slicing, and all sorts of things, and that's great. But the problem with it is often people put the same spin on it, so it's not very effective because I know what's going to happen to it. But basically, most of the spins, when they come to you, you need to sort of pull it up I mean, you get your paddle really low and just, exaggerate like sort of a pushing up motion. You're usually okay against most spins, but let it spin, let it do its thing, and then you hit it. You just need to delay what you're going to do a little bit. Injuries. Okay. And injuries are a part of it. And so you should be aware of it. I already talked about the stretching before and after. To me, that's the most important thing. And there's specific stretching. You can go online or in our book. We talk about that. So another big one is don't play too much. So avoid playing every day at over 2 hours. And most injuries occur because of this. It's mostly people get injured late in the game and they're just too tired to move their feet the way they should. So playing too much is not good. I already talked about eyewear. That's a huge thing. In our book, because we talk about like you have to wear eyewear, and we have a lot of model shots, and like we force them even in the pictures. And some people didn't have glasses, so they're wearing these, weird science-looking things. But Mo insisted. She's like, if we talk about that, we have to follow through in the book. And okay, everyone I know plays pickleball has a massage gun, and you get them on Amazon, and that really helps with muscles quite a bit. And you hit the massage gun all the time. So. And okay, another rule is never run backwards. Okay, chances are pretty good you're gonna fall. So like you just sort of go sideways a lot. Pickleball's a lot of sideways movements and stuff like that. Or as I recommended earlier, you say that's a great shot, and I'll wait for the next one because it's just not worth it. Getting injured. Okay, so dinking. This is when. This is what the game really is all about. And if you are good at dinking, you're going to be a good pickleball player. And it's way more fun than trying to smash it. Because the problem with smashing and all that, a lot of it's low percent shots. And dinking, if you're good at dinking, it's high percent shot. So we talked about the kitchen, the non-volley. I already went through the rules on that because half the questions were about the kitchen. I think if they called it the non-volley area, people would understand it better. Keep low, don't pop it up. So that's the whole idea. You'll get, if you see really advanced players, they'll be at the line dinking for like 20 shots. It's like crazy. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is they're like pretty much it's going from side to side, backhand to backhand. And all you're doing is waiting for one person to pop it up like six inches too high, and boom. So that's what that's all about. So you have to keep the ball low when you're up there. And it's a shuffle step, sort of like crab walking or whatever. That's how you're constantly moving. It's this little shuffling back and forth at the line. And I would say for the most part, it's the patient player that wins. It's really hard, and I'm not that patient. Because I'm like, oh God, we're on like our 9th shot and all that. And I'm like, well, there's a chance I can get that, and boom, and usually I lose. So it's that person who sticks in there and has the stamina to do that. And they're, I know some people that are so good at dinking, they know 90% of the points they're going to win because they're going to keep on doing it. They could care less. And the other person eventually bails out and does something stupid. So, yeah.
That would be me swinging as hard as I could after.
Don't do that. People swing way too hard. If you evaluate actually when you get points, it usually has little to do with the speed. It's the direction. Mm-hmm. You'll hit. In fact, all the time, you'll see someone who's like ready to whack it, and then they hit it wrong. And it ends up being this change up that you cannot get. So it's like, yeah. Anyway, that makes it fun. And corner to corner, that's basically what you're doing, is going that. But then I think the next one is varying it. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, rather than keep on backhand to backhand and all that, you want to vary it. And then also often that partner who's sort of watching this little game between these two, it's like, oh, I noticed them. as I'm hitting it, they're just sort of watching all, and then I just flick it right at them, and they're like, you know, and you may hit them or whatever. It's not going to be hard. It's right there. I'm not hitting it hard, and that's a really good strategy because often that partner who hasn't been involved, they're just sort of observer at that point, and so get them involved in it, when they're not looking. So that's always a good thing there.
They may be hiding on purpose, and they may be lulled into a sense of not being ready, right?
Yeah. So anyway, we don't have too much time, so maybe there's more questions, right?
Yeah, there are more questions, so we'll try to get into some of those. And Carl has generously shared his email too, if you want to get in touch after, because obviously, as we mentioned, we had so many that we didn't get to all of them, and we're going to try to keep this close to one here. So we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes on what has come in. So let's start with the noise problem. A couple of people asked about like the noise of pickleball, and is there anything being done for that?
Well, it's a big thing, and I totally get it too. If you're in an established neighborhood and all of a sudden a pickleball court comes off, and it was page 1 New York Times noise of pickleball. So anyway, there is acoustic fencing built that actually eliminates most of the noise. So I'm not quite sure how much it costs, but the technology is there on the fencing. They're also working on paddles and balls that are much quieter, and I'm sure within a few years they can eliminate the noise for the most part. The one thing is like the more expensive paddles are quieter, so it's the really cheap, crappy ones that like make most of the noise. But
actually, that's a perfect segue, if you don't mind, Carl, because I have 2 live questions about paddles from Tracy and Marine. Do you think the price of a racket is indicative of the quality? Like, is a $200 one worth a lot more than a $50 one? And then someone asked about wood or fiberglass. So any paddle recommendations?
Okay, so 3 years ago when I started playing pickleball, there were 8 manufacturers. There are over 80 now. I mean, it's crazy. So for the most part, the more expensive ones are better, but it's all personal choice. It totally is. And like I have a paddle that costs like $110, which is low now. Then it was high end 3 years ago, and I just like it. I like it because it's lighter, and I've had problems with my shoulder and all that. And so the best thing to do on any paddle is to try it out. And almost every place that sells paddles, they're usually tennis shops. They're selling 90% pickleball stuff and 10% tennis now. But anyway, almost all of them that I've gone to, they'll let you take out 3 paddles at a time. It costs like $10, or you can do it online. There's tons of places online. Same deal. You get it, and also a lot has to do with just the handle and how it feels. It totally is, personal. And like at our club, there's 20 different paddles. The truth is, a really good pickleball player, you can give them almost anything and they would be fine, So, yeah. But it's worth getting a decent one. But it's all what feels right to you. So try them out with my friends. We'll all trade and all that, and it's sort of fun to see what it's like.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. You mentioned one of the challenges of pickleball is a ball hit at your foot, and somebody had already asked about that as well. What's your strategy if someone's like you trying to hit the other person's foot?
Yeah, the only thing you could do, there's usually about 2 seconds where you see them winding up and ready to go. So scoot back, don't run, scoot back about 2 or 3 feet and get as low as you can, which is generally what you don't do in pickleball. Generally, you don't want to be low in pickleball, but in this case you do, and put your paddle facing out and right on the ground. That is about the only thing you can do, and it's amazing. I'd say about 1/3 of the time, it's just for some reason you do that and it goes right over, and that's about the only thing I know what to do on the foot thing.
That sounds like a good idea. And I know we're about to hit an hour here. Are you good with 5 or 10 more minutes of questions, Carl?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. I'd like to just get to a few more. We have some more live ones coming in, and we had a few more that we wanted to get to from before. One is pickleball a fad?
Yeah, I don't think so. there is so much money right now in the pipelines. Every city, every community, every park, they're all investing money in pickleball. So when there's a lot of money behind something, right now there's a huge shortage of courts, and so I don't think so. The other thing that's important is the biggest segment of people that are new to the industry and people that are casual players are 30 years and younger. So it's all of a sudden I've noticed the past 3 months, who are all these kids playing? and so if you get young people involved, and schools are investing a ton of money, like universities all have pickleball classes now, and elementary schools have pickleball classes. So I don't think it is a fad in the fact that all these people that have never even heard of it are going to start hearing about it. And particularly if you get young people involved in it, I think you're set.
Sounds good. What about practicing by yourself? Do you have any
I
ideas?
know it's a lonely thing, but you sort of have to do it. It's super easy. Just get a cone, or even if you don't have a cone, just take your water bottle and put it at a target. So generally you're hitting targets. Practice your serve and put it deep and off to the side, and just hit 20 serves. And how many can you get within 3-4 feet? And then you can do the same thing with dinking, where it's off to the side. And how often can you hit that target? That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, nice. That sounds good. Yeah, I don't know. The tennis courts often have those walls. I guess they probably don't work quite as well with the wiffle ball bouncing back.
No, it doesn't really. No. No.
All right. What about? I know you mentioned this, but just people. There's a lot of people I think on the call that are just thinking about getting started. Any other advice for just getting their foot in the door with pickleball?
No, it's mostly like clinics, and it's like there are going to be people just like you. And the great thing is, you take a clinic. There's like 12 of you, and you know what? Like 4 or 5 of them, it's like, hey, do you want to get together? And all of a sudden, that little core. And I still play with a lot of those people I played with at the beginning. And it's like, so then you have people just as bad as you, and then that's the way to do it. So I say just start making friends with the people at the clinic, because but it's super easy, and just don't be on the sidelines. Just try it.
Yeah, sounds good. And then what about the rules and the scoring? I don't know if you want to go into a little bit about scoring right now, or just say some more resources for rules and scoring either way.
So the rules, I did look before we did this. USA Pickleball Association, Google that. They have the rules online, free. It's 86 pages. But anyway,
not as many as your book, but
no. But we cover all the important rules and stuff in our book. But in that, you can see like what the new rules are, because they do change a little bit every year and stuff like that. So there are a lot of rules. The best thing to do on the rules, though, is just talk to people, advanced players where you're playing, and a lot of them know it, or instructors and all that. But it's pretty involved. The score I've tried to avoid doing, because so basically a typical game is to 11. It's by 1. It's similar to racquetball, where you only score when you serve. Mm-hmm. So if you're serving, and if you don't win that volley, you don't get a point. It just goes over to the other side. And there's 2 servers. And the thing at the beginning is crazy, the 002 or 00 start. I'm not going to go into that. If you Google, well, it's in our book. We have a whole page on scoring. I mean, it's like 16, 18 pages. But otherwise, just Google or YouTube how to score. And there's like 20 videos how to do it. But it's best actually playing during a game with someone that knows what they're doing. It really is. That's the only way you do it, is read it, read our chapter, but then it'll make sense. You play with someone, and then, then they'll explain it to you.
Yeah. Learn by doing, for sure. And I guess the hardest thing for me with score, or the only thing I haven't really learned yet, is like how many games is a usual match or set if you're playing? Like, is this just vary? I don't know if there's how many
I
games
think
professionals
I think it really varies, but some of these tournaments, it's like a lot of games. I mean, people in tournaments will play like 10 games. It depends how many people are in you're usually a rating, like let's say you're 3.0. Well, it depends how many people signed up. So if there's 16 teams, there's going to be a lot of games.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But like one pro match, is it X number of games to win, or does that depend too?
No, I think there is. I don't know what that is, but generally though, I play. It's usually we play 5 or 6 games. It usually takes an hour and a half. To me, that's like a reasonable amount.
That sounds right. Okay, cool. A couple of real quick ones. Paddle tap. This is very important. Paddle tap. Handle to handle or paddle to paddle?
Everyone does it different. A lot of people just want the handle, mostly because they've dealt with some Yahoo who slammed their paddle. So I think that's why they do it. Yeah. I'm more using the paddle myself. But anyway, excellent question, though.
Yeah, that was from Brian, and maybe he got his fingers nailed or something. And
there's been a problem
in that question, but okay, paddle to paddle, but gently either way.
Yes.
Okay, and then the other one was just a follow-up. Donna said 80 manufacturers of pickleball paddles. Anyone, would you want to suggest any brands, or you really don't?
Not particularly. I mean, only because there's not one brand that has it all. I mean, it's more personal choice. It really is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to make this the last question. It's a good one. It's not pickleball related, but I think you'll be okay with it. This is from Sumit, and he asked, Carl, how did you become a great communicator and writer over your life? What exercises did you do to improve your communication and writing? It's a goal of mine to improve written and spoken communication. You weren't probably ready for this one, but
no, it's fine. I mean, to be a good writer, you have to write a lot. I mean, that really is it, And I don't know if I talked about it in my last thing, but I did a whole comedy thing about it. I actually did a stand-up comedy, and I'm dyslexic, which I know is not even the right way to say it, but that's what my joke is. How do you give a learning disability on a word I can't spell or pronounce? But so I actually had real difficulties writing and reading, and just over time overcame it, and I write a lot and reading and all that. So I think if you talk to any writer, it's more like it's writing and having experiences and all that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, thanks for that good question, and thanks for sharing that. Before we sign off, Carl, I know you were talking about doing something with your podcast. What new do you have going on this fall?
Okay, so it's next fall. So so I've been in the event business for 20 years, and our audience actually has grown quite a bit. I used to be somebody, and people love it and all that. And I was going to do a resort, and I was going to, where we would all do a retreat. But then I teamed up with this company that does tours all around the world. And so next fall, the I Used to Be Somebody World Tour starts in Tuscany. So this is in September 2024. So there will be educational talks and stuff like that over a lot of wine and really good food. So if you've ever been to Tuscany, it's absolutely beautiful. And we go to all the walled cities. And I'm really excited about that. I'm going to announce it publicly to our audience in September. But if anyone's interested in it, let me know. And it's really fun. But we have a local tour guide that does everything. The hotels are first class, and the food and the restaurants. And you will connect with creative people want to be with creative people. And talk about networking, it's going to be amazing. So it's for our group. It's mostly for people that are looking at retiring from their career or recently retired, which is who the podcast really is for. So anyway, I'm very excited about our world tour.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing trip, and what a great idea. All right, very cool. Well, thanks again so much for the time, Carl. We really appreciate it, especially getting up early on the West Coast and missing pickleball today.
That's okay. And by the way, we have a newsletter. I used to be so many newsletters, so if you go on the site, you can subscribe to that, or
so,
just email me, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, cool. I'll put the let's see. I will put this back up one more time if people want your email. Obviously, you've seen the book, and then I Used to Be Somebody. If you Google that, you'll find Carl's podcast. And then the Taste Vacation, or how do they find that? Email you, you said, if they're interested?
No, we actually, email me, or there's a little bit on the website. We just put up yesterday. So
yeah, no, that site looks great. I can pop that on the web page too. So, all right, awesome.
Thanks, JJ.
Thanks again for your time and for being staying connected to Miami. We're happy to have you, and all the stuff you're doing even after retirement is amazing. So congrats on the success, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot, JJ. Good luck with pickleball.
All right. Thanks, Carl, and love and honor. We'll see you all later.
Okay.